Good afternoon. I'm Gary Stoyer, President and CEO of the Bonfils-Stanton Foundation, and I am so delighted to welcome you to our 35th annual awards celebration. This is truly the highlight of our year, and while it's not quite in the format we had hoped for, we're so pleased to have you join us. Although we can't be together in person, I invite you to grab some lunch, get comfy, and check in with a quick shout out in the chat box. You should be able to easily find that to the right of this screen. Today, we are very pleased to continue a wonderful tradition begun in 1984 by our founder, Ed Stanton, recognizing outstanding Coloradans for their exceptional contributions to our state. The celebration will include some performances, great films on our honorees, and you'll get to hear directly from the honorees themselves. But before we get too far along, I would like to introduce you to our newly elected board chair, Elaine Torres, who will be helping with today's program. Elaine?
Thank you, Gary. I'm excited to share this special time with all of you. It is a great honor to have the opportunity to chair the board of the Bonfils-Stanton Foundation. And I want to acknowledge the high standard set by my predecessor, Hal Logan. Thank you, Hal, for your steady and effective leadership these past 3 years. I add my welcome to all of you who are able to join us today from wherever you are, office, bedroom, kitchen, or car. This is indeed an unusual and challenging year that has forced us all to pivot and respond to the imperatives of our time. And this has meant both trying to determine how we respond to COVID and to assess how we can answer the call for racial justice. Gary will talk a bit later in the program about how these priorities have shaped our work this year. As part of our program, we feel it is important to include a land acknowledgement. As an arts funder, we wanted to use this as an opportunity to do something a little different, something artistic. We have commissioned Native artist Gregg Deal to deliver a message that serves this function, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce Gregg.
Hamo, nu Gregg Deal mina ne nu kiu itakara nu kumu. Nu naa, nu tabudu, nu numu kuba tu yarawara. My name is Gregg Deal. I am a husband and a father, and I'm an artist. And I've been asked to provide a land recognition within the vernacular of my own artistic voice, and I do so with humility. I do so recognizing that I, as well as you, reside on the traditional homelands of the Ute and the Cheyenne and the Arapaho, and acknowledge the fact that the spaces that we live in were also spaces of trade, where Indigenous people would come around from all over to share in ideas and to share in concepts and to share in community and to share in wares. I accompany this recognition with the fact that we are also amidst the month designated for national recognition of Indigenous people, and I do so with a piece entitled Hostiles on My Homelands. I wish to speak in a language that you understand. It is seemingly important to acknowledge the spaces that you occupy, these homelands of people you don't know, and while the times call for a recognition of the invisible, we must acknowledge that acknowledgement is an English word. A word like many words in this colonial language that isn't just limited, but fades away when it leaves your mouth. It matters not if it's a scream or it's a whisper, but it only seems to matter if you hear it. To acknowledge is to admit truth or existence. To admit truth or existence is to acknowledge a problem, that something is missing, a gap, a secret. Even in what alcoholics call a moment of clarity, they know that the admission is the first step of admitting that there's a problem. Do you not realize that you live on stolen and unceded land? That you walk upon the bones of the unwilling, the unknowing, the unvalued people who desire the same thing as you: freedom, family, hope, dreams, life, free will. My people have been swallowed up in this thing called civilization, and yet the action put upon my people are anything but civilized. Uncivilized violence, the spread of uncivilized disease, uncivilized theft, uncivilized death. And if this is civilization, if this is civilized, well, you may be doing it wrong. The picture created is painted with lies, each brushstroke carefully crafted to a composition of omission, which is also a lie. Omission of sin, omission of value, omission of wrongdoing. Your acknowledgement puts you in a place where you can no longer look at a picture painted with lies and say, what a pretty picture. The acknowledgement denotes responsibility. The moral imperative of your existence requires acknowledgement of where you sit, why you sit, how you sit, what you sit on, and your desire for this land acknowledgement isn't enough. It's a step. Humanizing those that were here before you, those that are here now, those that will be here in the future. I'm sorry if I sound angry, but I am not sorry if I sound angry. Our stories have been heard as whispers even when we shout. And the anger and the bitterness of my own voice from 45 years of speaking but never being heard, 45 years of walking but never moving, 45 years of loving but only seeing hate, 45 years of trying but always failing. But yes, there is hope. There's always hope. Hope in our young ones, our fearless children who know all these things, our fearless children who carry all of these things. And now is the time for you to be quiet and to listen and to realize that the very things that have never been given to us will be the things that save us all. Love and compassion and equality, listening, changing, acknowledgement. But remember, acknowledgement is just a sketch, a drawing, or an idea. But the painting completes the picture, and lies don't paint pretty pictures anymore. Listen to our voices, hear our stories, see our faces, feel our songs, realize our prayers. See that you're standing upon our homelands, and until that happens, you should know that the hostiles that are talked about in your history books are you. And until you can complete the task before you, not just the acknowledgement, but all of the things that come after the acknowledgement, until that time, until that day, that year, that decade, that lifetime, we will conduct ourselves with the unequivocal truth that you and the spaces you occupy are pointing to the fact that there are hostiles on our homelands.
Thank you, Gregg, for those powerful words. Now I'd like to share just a few highlights of the work Bonfils-Stanton has been doing the past year and what we see ahead. Like all foundations, the year started off relatively routine until March, when we had to determine how to respond to what we could see was going to be a huge impact on the cultural sector posed by COVID-19. The day before the stay-at-home order was enacted, we proactively sent every grantee a check for 10% of their most recent grant, as a way to provide immediate critical cash support with no application and no report required. Early into the pandemic, our board also authorized the ability to double our grant making to respond to the crisis. And of course, it also became increasingly evident that our community and our society were facing a dual pandemic of COVID and systemic racism, and that a response must address both. We made a $1 million commitment to establish the COVID-19 Arts and Culture Relief Fund at the Denver Foundation, and have been able to nearly double that with support from other funding partners. A first round of grants went out over the summer, and a second will go out in 2021. Through our DEI Opportunity Grant Initiative, we were able to support 20 smaller organizations of color and other historically marginalized communities that were new to us. In our Arts and Society Grant program that we support, we were able to work with Redline and the other funding partners to accelerate the $500,000 originally scheduled for 2021 distribution to be granted this past summer as an additional COVID response. We have faced head-on the best ways to continue to dismantle systemic racism and bias within our own programs and operations. We've brought on a new staff person, Gregg Deal, to direct the Livingston Fellowship Program and our Arts and Social Change grant making. We've also embarked on a DEI and anti-racism journey with the consulting firm, the Gemini Group. The work is not perfect, it is not over, but it is happening, and I am gratified that we are making significant progress. Now, I would like to introduce you to some young poets from Art from Ashes, the organization founded by our 2020 Arts and Society honoree, Catherine O'Neill Thorn. Let's take a look and listen to the words they have to share with us today.
Is called perspective. People only like to see the world through their own eyes and can't give a damn about what people see as truth or lie. It's kind of funny how we compare our struggles, but don't see how ours even compares. Everyone has their own shit that can drop them on the knees when they take a hit. People like to tell others their truth, but don't know what they were taught as a youth. Teach them lies while looking them in the eyes. The way everyone views the world is different, so don't go making judgments. And it's sad how people only see through peepholes and not see a picture as whole, because the way everyone looks at life makes one big picture. And if we see through that, we can live life with a perfect mixture.
Hi, I'm Atlantic, and this is my poem, The Smudge. Well darn, I say as I place the rock on the riverbank, the same river I swam time after time, the same river I loved so much, filled with sludge, oil, trash. And I no longer swim any time the same river I loved, thinking to myself walking through the hot, thick sand, this was once my dream.
I will be reading my poem, Bella. You showed me pain, you showed me my flaws, you always made me think I was wrong. You taught me strength, you taught me to ignore those who throw others to the floor. I forgive you, forevermore. Yes, you showed me pain, yet taught me so much more.
Thank you so much, student poets. We appreciate you taking time to share your creativity with us. And that brings us to the highlight of today's program, the presentation of our 2020 annual awards. Since the inception of the annual awards, the Foundation has recognized 111 esteemed leaders whose remarkable contributions have made a real difference in Colorado and have also brought acclaim to our state as a place of great innovation and accomplishment, where dreams are born and ideas made real. Our state is blessed with iconic leaders who have made priceless contributions to our state and beyond. They often go about their work quietly, and their contributions may go unnoticed, but not unnoticed by us. Yet their actions and accomplishments enrich and advance our lives in immeasurable ways. Our hope is that by recognizing them, there will be power in their example, and others will be motivated to follow in their footsteps. As the Foundation shifted its grant-making focus to arts and culture starting in 2013, so have the awards shifted to focus specifically on artists and leaders whose efforts infuse our community with the beauty and power of the arts. Today's honorees will receive a custom hand-blown glass sculpture created by Blake Street Glass and an award of $35,000, along, of course, with our gratitude and admiration for their significant contributions. The Artist Award is presented to Ed Dwight. Ed is such a hard artist to categorize. He is a true Renaissance man. He trained as an Air Force pilot and was the first African American to be selected for the astronaut program. He was a successful entrepreneur and businessman, and now for many decades has been one of our nation's most celebrated public sculptors. Let's take a look and learn more about Ed and then hear from him directly.
It's a fulfillment of somebody's imagination. When they look at my art, they can associate it with its reality. What is this guy trying to say? And they'll say, okay, I'm willing to step out of reality because that is really cool, man. Nobody's that tall and nobody's that this, but hey, you've taken it to another level. I did my first oil painting when I was 8, and it was copies of all this stuff I was getting out of the library books. It was a gift. Nobody taught me art or anything of the sort. I mean, it was not as if I went to art school or something like that.
His dad wanted him to do the manly thing, and it was like, you're gonna get a job and you're gonna do well. He did pretty well, and he expected his son to do better. And so he didn't encourage it at all.
I mean, I went to the top as far as I could go, and then the military structure. I went to work for IBM Corporation, and I opened up a chain of restaurants. I got into politics. I ended up getting selected by the President of the United States to be an astronaut guy.
He's done everything.
I had a huge construction company here in Denver. And so I was going to all my sites in my $3,000 Brioni suits, and I'd pick up all the metal on my construction sites and throw them in the back of my Mercedes. And I'd take it home and I taught myself how to weld. And so I started making art.
He can pick up something and figure it out, just like that. And he did it with everything, including the art.
Our first black lieutenant governor was elected in 1974, and George Brown called me to his office, and he says, they need a sculpture of me as the first black lieutenant governor to put in the Capitol building. And I said, well, that's not what I do.
I can remember him going, oh my goodness, I gotta figure this out.
And he says, well, you're gonna do this because you're gonna stop flying them jets out there, and you're gonna stop all that restaurant stuff, and you're gonna stop all that construction stuff, and you're gonna become an artist.
He recreated himself in so many different professions. When he found that next seed, he has gone to heights that very few have been able to achieve.
From the very beginning, one thing the lieutenant governor did to ensure some kind of transitional stability was he gave me a great big project from the state of Colorado. He said, Dwight, there are no images of any black people in this country, in the city parks, libraries, museums, just don't exist.
He said, you know, I think to myself, when we leave this earth, if they wiped out every black person, you would never know we existed if all you did was look at sculptures in parks and things.
And he said, what you're gonna do is you're gonna put black people in all those places.
So he made it his mission to change that story.
I don't care if it was Washington, D.C., Detroit, Michigan, Chicago. It is amazing the impact that he has had in helping to tell our story.
I did a sculpture, and it was a whole history of slavery starting in the 1600s. And I went down and made a presentation to the joint session of the House and the Senate. After I made my presentation, there was a gentleman that came up to me and said, Mr. Dwight, I got to tell you a story. See, but I used to be the Grand Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. And I've looked at all these things where you were going. I looked at every one of these panels. And he said, you know, I've never looked at life through a black man's eyes. And he said, I'm sorry. He hit the bed, started crying, and he walked away and went back to his office. And so I said to myself, whoa. People ask me why I do this. That's why I do this. Okay, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank the Bonfils-Stanton Foundation and all its board members. I'd like to congratulate all the other awardees because of their service and the wonderful things that they did to be awarded. Then I'd like to also thank the city of Denver for the support that I received here, and all my collectors here, and the rest of my collectors and clients all over the country that helped me get through 130 memorials that I've done, and all the other sculptures that I've done by commissions. So thank you very, very much. Thank everybody. I'm very humbled by this award, and good luck to all. I'd also like to thank my family for all their patience over these 40 years with my absences and all my living at the studio rather than home and spending all this time doing what I do. But it ends up as a labor of love, so this is probably why I do it all. So thanks to all.
Before moving on with the next award, I want to acknowledge and thank Sam Pike, an artist in his own rights, and his team who produced our honoree videos. Once again, great work, Sam. In the field of community service in the arts, our board of trustees had a very difficult time selecting just one honoree. So we decided to give 2 awards. Our first recipient is one of Denver's dynamic duos, Susan and Jeremy Shamos. For over 30 years, they've been bringing their unique blend of the 4 W's of volunteer leadership to our community's cultural sector: work, wealth, wisdom, and especially in their case, wit. Let's take a look to learn about some of their contributions and then hear what they have to share.
One of the things that we've talked about is why philanthropy is fun.
It's fun because you've got to see what happens with that money. You get to see people come together and really see the magic happen. It's exciting.
If it's not fun, why do it?
We were putting together a conference, and it was a meeting of the Coloradans for better public television.
My first impression was this sort of sweet-looking, young, totally naive lady.
Jeremy was interesting, and he was not in a good mood.
And over the course of those many months, we did fall in love.
Yeah, so that was the start.
And it was fun to do together.
We had a lot of fun together.
I look at Jeremy and Susan Shamos as kind of like uncorking a really fine bottle of champagne. It's that energy, it's that sparkle and good taste in that really drives their philanthropy, it drives their commitment to what is happening here in Denver, and it's made so much happen.
The heavy philanthropy really started with Opera Colorado. Having the Ellie as a part of the Plex is terrific.
The impact of the Ellie Calkins Opera House on sort of the cultural fabric of the arts complex is just incalculable.
Because the Opera House is not just a place for Opera Colorado or Colorado Ballet to perform. There are great comedians that come through the Opera House. There are great rock bands that play at the Opera House. It's a resource and a gem for the entire community, not just opera fans.
Jeremy and Susan, their contribution, I think, is often a little more invisible. They are involved with Colorado Academy. They were deeply involved with the Children's Chorale, Opera Colorado, and the Ellie, Curious.
They've spent real time and energy supporting SCFD and looking for ways for it to be able to do more for arts organizations. And they do this because that's what makes a difference in a community, to be exposed to the richness and the lushness, really, of what the arts have to offer.
So I think I could find the first play that Jeremy saw, Curious. Regardless of the level of philanthropy they were involved with, they supported organizations through attendance across the board. And not everybody does that. Here it is, The Tricky Part by Marty Moran.
We believe in the arts and the importance of it and what it does for people.
They support all organizations in their own ways, and I think that's really remarkable and truly what everybody should be doing.
Arts organizations in particular always are concerned about longevity.
Anytime people are really going to put their money into it, of course, they want it to last, and they grow to love it.
Jeremy and Susan are fervent and dedicated fundraisers, and they do it with such grace. They use their home to cultivate donors, to steward existing donors.
What I loved about Jeremy and Susan Shamos as fundraisers is they were always mentoring me in the community and making sure I was meeting people, meeting the influential people in town that would help me fundraise for the company.
I've worked with a lot of philanthropists, and I think it's tough work. And when it's the Shamoses, it's just different. On some level, you're doing it because of them as well as for the cause. I mean, you have to like the people who you're handing money over to, and they're both so damn likable.
I think the fun that we have is infectious. People know that if we're involved, it is going to be fun. It is something that we feel strongly about and want to make it fun for us, for the people that we know.
One of the things that struck me as extraordinary and unique about Jeremy and Susan is their sense that those organizations that they're supporting will only be successful if the entire arts community is successful. If that happens, then Denver has a great opportunity to grow its arts and cultural sector. A great city needs great art, and that's very much how Jeremy and Susan approach the arts here in Denver.
When we were told on Valentine's Day, no less, that we were the recipients of this year's Community Service to the Arts Award, we were surprised and thrilled. We were particularly delighted to be honored as a couple, joining such friends as the Bensons, the Bermans, and the Hirschfelds. And we thank everyone at Bonfils-Stanton who participated in our selection.
And we want to particularly thank the Bonfils-Stanton Foundation for its continued leadership in support of the arts in Denver and Colorado. You stand virtually alone among Colorado foundations in support of the arts in Denver and Colorado. Jeremy and I both moved to Denver in the early 1970s. It's been our joy to witness the blossoming of Denver's culture over the past 50 years, both in the visual arts and the performing arts, and to participate in its exciting life. We, like many of you, just can't imagine life without the arts.
When this pandemic ends and we're able once again to enjoy the communion of living performances in real venues, there are many organizations, countless organizations, and individual artists who will owe their very survival to the care and leadership of Bonfils-Stanton. We thank you on their behalf.
Thank you. I think that was good.
Yeah.
It was a shock, as it was for everyone in the arts community.
We went to our constituents and really asked them what they needed. Then we got a really good indication of how we wanted to program.
We knew we had to move quickly. We pivoted to digital work right away.
We streamed out live to our patrons and for everyone to see.
We were able to shift. We've had performances online, which really turned into a beautiful production on several different accounts.
In total, we created 129 films that anyone can watch for free at any time, and they're all on our website.
People are just hungry for content. It reminds them that we are still here for you.
This film is called A Little Escape, and it was created in collaboration with Denver band Chimney Choir. We actually filmed this creation on our rooftops. All the roofs are 1950s barrel roofs, and they are vast and majestic, and it reminded me of an ocean. I teamed up with my husband, Garrett Ammon, the artistic director, and normally I don't choreograph, but for me, it really represented a moment where I felt a need to do so. I really felt that I wanted to give some people watching a quirky and maybe a little off-kilter tale that would really provide, as the title says, a little escape. When the Black Lives Matter movement erupted, and in the wake of so many tragic deaths, we at Wonderbound really wanted to know, how can we support this movement? How can we do something that will really matter and contribute to the awareness of the movement?
Rises up ahead, lift us up instead, voices of the dead.
And so Voices of the Dead was created really focusing in on the magnificent lyrics of local band Flowbots, which really spoke to the Black Lives Matter movement.
And left it hanging on a cross and left it laying cold. Now everything we lost and everything we stole awakens ancient gods who make our language whole. So let us sing the lettering and let it ring no better thing. Visions of Colorado King delivered life instead of dreams. Bye bye, the sky will cry for all of us.
The movement is a piece that was commissioned by the Colorado Ballet, and it was a collaboration with Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Ensemble and the Colorado Ballet as part of their tour de force season. Symbolically, it's bringing two different dance genres together, so bringing ballet and contemporary dance together. We're an African American dance company, and so the majority of our company members are Black and have an experience here in this country that may be different from the members of Colorado Ballet. I think the purpose is to bring people together from different experiences and to be in dialogue and to be in exchange. In the middle of tremendous social unrest, what that piece means is just a reminder that we need to be as close in communication as possible, because there are far more things that we have in common than not. This is choreographed by Michaela Taylor. Now, Michaela Taylor is one of Dance Magazine's top 25 artists to watch, and we were fortunate to have this piece commissioned by the American Dance Festival in Durham, North Carolina. So the company premiered this performance at the American Dance Festival in July of 2019, and I think it's just an important work because she's such a fresh new voice for the dance field, and you'll get a chance to experience this yourselves.
Tony Pierce from the Symphony contacted us. There was a piece of music, lyric for strings, that was written by George Walker, the first Black American to receive the Pulitzer Prize in Music. He wanted some choreography to that, and this was shortly after George Floyd's passing, and so Alejandro Perez and Sheridan Gearin, two dancers of color, got together with our choreographer Sandra Brown and talked about what this could look like, and we ended up filming it in front of the State House on Bannock, on that mural that they've painted on the street, which you'll see in this. The other piece that we came up with was a piece called Hope, also choreographed by Sandra Brown. Hope stands for helping arts organizations during the pandemic evolve and engage. All the choreography was done on Zoom and created, and then the dancers came together at Sculpture Park that afternoon and put it together.
Our biggest priority was our people, our staff and our dancers, and our community.
It has been difficult, but I think we've been able to shift in some positive ways.
We learned so much.
Now we've been able to maintain relationships with folks virtually.
Just get yourself in front of them and give them something to sit back and enjoy.
People's souls really needed something to engage with.
The company is weathering this pandemic, and we'll come out on the other end strong, and we'll be back there for you.
Special thanks to Dawn Fay of Wonderbound, Gil Boggs of Colorado Ballet, and Malik Robinson of Cleo Parker Robinson Dance for sharing the power of dance with us. I might also put in a shameless plug to support our local arts organizations by donating to the Arts and Culture Relief Fund at thedenverfoundation.org. As I said earlier, we will be making another round of grants in 2021, so it is not too late to support this effort. Our cultural organizations have experienced losses unlike anything in their history, and they need extra support to survive this next year. Okay, let's get back to our program. Our second honoree in the field of community service in the arts is Marcela de la Mar. Marcela is a connector, collaborator, and convener. She has been perhaps the most important advocate in our community for Mexican and Mexican-American culture. Let's learn more about Marcela and her work.
Art is a universal language. It's approachable. We understand it. When you're listening to music, when you're watching someone dance, it's a way to engage with a culture that's less academic and more human-based.
Before there was a Colorado, southern part of Colorado were once part of Spain, then Mexico. So historically, we have been connected for generations.
The Mexican Cultural Center really exists to introduce people to the incredible vibrancy of culture in Mexico.
People in Colorado were one day Spanish, the next day were Mexican, and the next day were American. And they say we never crossed the border crossed us.
Marcela's leadership and her vision are remarkable. She has a way of identifying ways to partner that benefit the greater community.
I'd like to bring people together. I think when you sit at a table, you start the conversation out of willingness and mutual trust. Wonderful things occur.
Marcela paints a picture of what it is that she's dreaming that makes it seem so logical and attainable and beautiful and right and fun. It's like, well, how could you not do it?
Well, we have an array of programs throughout the year. The first event or program was Dia del Niño, Children's Day celebration.
The thing about partnering with the Mexican Cultural Center around Dia is that it was always clear that we needed to let them do it. And in watching how they provided programming to our community, we began to understand what we needed to do to really welcome people to the Museum of Nature and Science.
We started our celebration back in 1994 with approximately 350 families and children. With the support of the Denver Art Museum, we started inviting the History Colorado and Denver Central Library, Clifford Steele Museum, the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, and it just started to grow.
Through the Mexican Cultural Center and Marcela's ability to partner and collaborate with other organizations, she grew the Dia del Niño to become a very diverse and inclusive event.
Our slogan is Dia del Niño, celebrating all children. So this is not just a Latino celebration for Latino children, this is a celebration for everyone.
And it grew from one venue to multiple events over a 2-week period.
Everybody comes. Like, we've seen 17,000 people on a Dia del Niño day. Nobody wants to miss it. And once they've come once, they want to come again.
I hope that it was an appreciation to Mexico, to its people, and to its culture. I hope that people see Mexico with a different eye, looking at what unites and not what separates us in the challenging times and divisiveness.
I am extremely proud of my Mexican ethnicity. It's the dance, it's the cuisine, it's the art. It's just something of great pride for me to be able to not only experience it, but have others experience it.
When I think about the scale of impact that Marcela and the Mexican Cultural Center have had, there's all the people, the hundreds of thousands of people that have been impacted directly. But then there's the fact that there are people who had never been to the museum, and they were like, hey, actually, this is kind of fun. I think I'll come back. And so there's this huge ripple effect of interconnections.
I think that's when we start looking at each other as a one community, not different communities. And we're open to learn from each other, and not just about Mexico, but about each other as humans. Buenas tardes, damas y caballeros. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank everyone for joining us virtually today to celebrate the Bonfils-Stanton Foundation 35th Annual Award Celebration that, for unforeseen circumstances, became a virtual event this year. It is with great pleasure and humility that I receive this award. Thank you warmly for granting me the honor of this high distinction for the community service in the arts, in allowing me to join past recipients who I have long admired and respected. And an enormous salute to all of this year's awardees, each of whom have made incredible contributions to the arts. I would also like to thank Bonfils-Stanton Foundation for the tremendous support they have provided for the arts and culture for so many years. Through this amazing foundation, many local artists, cultural organizations are able to receive the much-needed support to continue to enrich and elevate the arts and culture in the Denver metro area, to build and sustain our vibrant arts community in Colorado. Thank you for those who nominated me and supported my nomination. And of course, thank you to my family and friends for always supporting me. Also, a special thank you to the team at the Mexican Cultural Center that I have had the pleasure to work with throughout many years. And I could have not done it without them. Muchas gracias.
In the category of Arts and Society, the recipient is Catherine O'Neill Thorn. Through her founding and leadership at Art from Ashes, Catherine has used the arts, especially poetry and writing, to help our young people grapple with the enormous challenges many of them face. Her work has literally saved lives. Let's learn more about Catherine's work.
Because I am young, I am dumb, unwise, inexperienced, not knowing peace, as you judge me in your over-extravagant car. My spirit is not dead. Poetry is a dialogue with the subconscious, using the language of metaphor. How often do we listen to that conversation that's going on in here? How often do we share ourselves with others? Poetry makes that possible. Oh, you have missed so much. Because I am male, I have to fit your image of who you think I should be. My spirit is not dead. I have been working with young people doing creative expression and personal transformation for more than 30 years.
In this society, the authentic expression of the human voice is curtailed, and it's more and more difficult to get kids to connect and express out loud.
I work with young people before they hit that point to let them know that this access to their creativity, this access to their vulnerability is possible and available.
It gives them a peek above the clouds of adolescence to say that this is a skill that I can use beyond these short yet troubling times.
I am not the man you may think. Come along for a ride and you will see that there is oh so much more to me. My spirit comes alive as you look into my eyes, but you still can't see me.
Catherine has made a big change throughout this city since her foundation of Art from Ashes. Her main focus is making sure that kids who are hurting and in need can express themselves openly, freely, in a way that isn't filtered.
The reason that we do 3-minute prompts and say, don't think, write as fast as you can, write nonsense, and just be that creative self, let it flow, is because it shows how simple it is to tell your truth, to tell your story. And it's amazing because you give people permission to write nonsense and wisdom happens.
We encourage the kids to get up in front of everybody. So the expression piece is there to make sure that they're looking within and then encouraging them to bring it to the surface. The connection piece is the peer element. You hope that when they're all done with this, that you will build a community with the students. Then you're free for the magic, which is the transformation.
The idea that what you say can alter your perception of self and consequently of reality. That there's an ability we have as creative geniuses to say, that happened, that's a fact, this is the story I made up. If I'm making up stories, I'm gonna make up one that shows how beautiful I am and how valuable I am. I will say it again. I am black and white, country and hood, business and street, poor and rich, beaten by the world but still blessed. I am not a victim, nor do I owe any explanation to any person who does not take the time to walk with me. At the end of 2017, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. What a hell of a journey. There was so much pain to try and hold in my body and in my heart and in my mind. There was so much pain.
I didn't want her to panic. She one of the most supportive people I ever had in my life. Every new powerful thing that happens in my life, she's my biggest fan. And I know I'm not unique because she makes all the youth feel like that.
The whole process of holding space for everything, I'm so glad I've been practicing this for 30 years because it was pretty devastating. I will leave you with one thing though. The stars don't even limit me. Come and see. My spirit is not dead. There's this stream, that river that runs through everything in my life that says, you are meant to be here. And I discovered I am big enough to hold all of that. People said, hey, we see you and we appreciate the work you've done. That's huge. That shifts the balance and just the life-changing aspect of being seen and being heard, which is what I've wanted to give others for so many years. Hello, I'm Catherine.
And I had a very nice acceptance speech prepared that spoke of the enormous gratitude I feel to be given such a prestigious and meaningful award after 25 years of service in our community. I got all the way down from 4 minutes to 3 and was stuck when I was interrupted by a call from a young medical student who wanted to know if the stress and uncertainty of our current reality was negatively affecting my physical recovery. Well, I just told him I worked harder, and after I shared my work with him, our belief that language through poetry and metaphor can bring hope out of despair, the incredible love that is communicated just by listening without judgment, and how creativity and art can transform our perceptions, he asked me, "Do those words help you? Does that also apply to you?" In that moment, I had to honestly answer that the difficult work we must do to reach the youth, to raise the funds and manage the grants and promote the programs and develop the curriculum, now combined with the added work of redeveloping an interactive, interpersonal curriculum to make it appropriate for virtual delivery, has indeed distracted me from my own message, that my story too can be one of despair and hopelessness, or of creativity and joy. In a time when connections seem so out of reach for many of us, this award has shown me that the community recognizes and appreciates the veracity and power of my life's work and my desire to serve. Bonfils-Stanton Foundation and those who have helped me build Art from Ashes have come alongside me and reminded me that everything we do together, because that is how great things happen in the world. So thank you for creating an award for artists and leaders where we know we're valued. And thank you for recognizing the good work we do to bring access to the arts to those who suffer and a recognition of their own creative genius. And thank you for reminding us that in a time when it is easy to forget this truth, we are indeed connected through love.
We are delighted to recognize the stellar accomplishments of Ed, Marcela, Susan, Jeremy, and Catherine, and welcome them to our esteemed family of Bonfils-Stanton Award recipients. Please join me in congratulating all of this year's honorees. This brings us to the close of our 35th awards presentation. Thank you for joining us today and helping us nurture the excellence that comes from cultivating the extraordinary. It has been a wonderful celebration of accomplishment and promise as we recognize the significant contributions of our new honorees. Have a great afternoon, and we encourage you to check back to this site soon to share the link with others who might want to celebrate the accomplishments of our honorees. There are not many positive aspects of these pandemic times, but one is that for the first time in the 35-year history of this event, it's been fully accessible to all who wanted to attend and can even be experienced later by those who are unable to be with us today. So as Ed Stanton intended, let's leave today inspired and motivated by these great Coloradans. And I also encourage you to stick around because all of those wonderful dance videos that you only got to see a snippet of are going to run in their entirety right now. Have a great day.
When everything we thought meets everything we know, and everything up top meets everything below. When every plainclothes cop meets every angry soul, and all getaways are stopped, and all debt is paid in full. Then everything we're never saying and never said will yet remain. Hidden shame and bitter pain will fill the air and weather vein. Till by and by the sky will cry for all of us. So let it rain, let it stain, whichever reigns will seek to be forever changed. Message reads, rest in peace, sleep in solace. F police, except Selena Hollis. Say your name and pay respects to her daughter. Black woman cop, but none of that was why he shot her. He was scared. I don't wanna die, I was there too. When you're buried alive, nobody can hear you, but spirits can. There's more souls in the cosmos, more peace plans than Oslo's. Get cha-chas, key Lambos, dig a path, tunnel out. I sail boats and drop hidden tracks for the underground railroad. There's blood in the river, but Moses parted waters. Martin at the mountaintop followed higher orders that required slaughter. If it pleased the court or pleased the Lord, what's the procedure for the Ouija board? Get me Vincent Harding. They said he's in the garden singing with the Holy Ghost, squeezing our hands tight till all of us are fully woke.
Rises up ahead, lift us up instead. Rises up ahead, lift us up instead. Rises up ahead, lift us up instead. Voices of the dead, voices of the dead. Rise above the threat and lift this up instead. Voices of the dead, voices of the dead.
I put my hands up, not seeking an escape. I put my hands up to better seize the day. Outstretched to carpe diem, carpal tunnels to mausoleums. I'm trying to ride away to the voices of my heroes. I was stronger when your hands were on my shoulders and taught me to be a warrior before a soldier. You got me, and that's why I'll push the boulder forward. Many hands, light work, that's why all of us are chosen. So stop, drop, and roll out. Stop, frisked, and hostile. When the police game is being ranged, my contacts go nozzle. When the pocket dollar ring race and black ops in the talent pool, brothers dropping out like underfunded high school. So less jails, more doors. Why excel and failure? Losing ground ever since four score and hold the door stuck in a loop that predicts the final scene. But the very worst of them won't get the best of me with the archery able arrow sight. Big voice from narrow mics, knowing I am clothed in the feathers from a sparrow's flight. Fearing no Fahrenheit, I'm parallel or paralyzed, building up a world where I'll hear your voice as clear as mine.
And where the rainbows stop, that's where they gain control. And left to hanging on a cross, and left to laying cold. Now everything we lost, and everything we stole, awakens ancient gods who make our language whole. So let us sing the lettering, and let it ring, no better thing. Visions of Colorado King, deliver life instead of dreams. Bye bye, the sky will cry for all of us. So let it rain, let it stain the feet of those who seek to be forever changed.
Rises up ahead, lift us up instead. Voices of the dead, voices of the dead.
From the summer of your senior year, a secret note read aloud you didn't mean to hear. 100 windows in a 10-story building side. 100 stories go dark when you kill the lies. The shadow of another person living parallel. A glimpse of somebody riding on a carousel. A vision of a better life than I chose today. The time he told me that love never goes away. A voicemail from the summer of your senior year. A secret note read aloud you didn't mean to hear. 100 windows in a 10-story building side. 100 stories go dark when you kill the lies. A shadow of another person living parallel. A glimpse of somebody riding on a carousel. A vision of a better life than I chose today. The time you told me love never goes away.
Rises up ahead, lift this up instead. Voices of the dead, voices of the dead. Rise above the threat, lift this up instead. Voices of the dead, voices of the dead.
We marched. We protested, we sang, we danced, we prayed. And then there were times we moved in silence.
If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep
moving. The river sings and it sings on. There is a true yearning to respond to the singing river and the wise rock. So say the Asian, the Hispanic, the Jew, the African American, the Native American, the Sioux, the Catholic, the Muslim, the French, the Greek, the Irish, the rabbi, the priest, the sheik, the gay, the straight, the preacher, the privileged, the homeless, the teacher. They hear, they all hear. We all hear the waters speak.
This is called By the Waters of Babylon.
Woman.
promised land. No one knows where they go.
Here's the piece that I created called Hope, helping arts organizations in the pandemic engage and evolve. Our dancers are Francesca Martuccio and Nicholas Pelletier, and from the Colorado Ballet. I hope you enjoy. Now more than ever, Colorado Ballet needs your support. You can go to our website at coloradoballet.org. You can donate to our relief and recovery fund that has been started. And this will help us get through this time and bring to you these beautiful virtual ballet performances so that you can have a little bit of art in your home. So I hope that this will help bring us closer to you, and I hope at some point we'll see you soon back at the theater.
You're still here? Get out of here. Show's over. Come on.